Welcome to Killer Women with your host, best-selling author Danielle Girard. And now, Danielle's next killer woman.
Welcome to Killer Women Podcast, a proud member of the Authors on the Air global network with more than 4 million listeners. I am your host, suspense author Danielle Girard, and my guest today is Jaime Lynn Hendricks. Jaime's debut novel, Finding Tessa, was called an anxiety-fueled ride rife with unexpected left turns by Publishers Weekly and won a Best of 2021 in the debut category from Suspense Magazine. It is also available in UK and Commonwealth under the title His Missing Wife. It Could Be Anyone, her second novel, was described as riveting from its opening scene by best-selling author Robyn Harding. New York Times bestselling author Mary Kubica said, "It starts with a bang and never lets up." Publishers Weekly said, "Hendricks maximizes the suspense of her clue-style premise, smoothly manipulating and misdirecting readers." It is also available in the UK and Commonwealth under her husband's murder. I love that they always change your names. I know in the middle of your bio, but it's like what?
They said it resonates more with their audience over there, and you know they're the experts. So
yeah, you gotta let it happen. Okay, yeah. Her third, I Didn't Do It, which is what we're talking about today, is due out 5/23/23, which is a magical day because, right, I also have a book out that day. So look for us on Vanessa Lilly's "'Twas the Night Before" book launch on Instagram because we will be there. And a Kirkus STARRED review called it a furious, riotous, meta-romp, a dishy balm for every aspiring author who's envied those established figures at mystery conventions. Liv Constantine says, "Wow, what a twist." Described by Samantha Bailey as a meta mystery, a suspense, and a divine comedy, all rolled into one brilliantly constructed novel. Samantha Downing says, "It's a crackling, irresistible thriller, and it's so much fun." And Ashley Winstead adds, "It doesn't get any better than this. It's official. All hail the queen of the page turner." Jaime spent over 20 years in the printing industry before becoming an author and has recently moved from New Jersey to Florida with her husband and dog Cosmo.
Yes, Cosmo.
Sweet Cosmo. We'll see how
much longer she lasts.
Oh, don't say it. Yeah,
she's sick.
She's gonna be great. Okay, we don't want to talk about Cosmo. We love Cosmo. So before I get into, of course, all the fun questions I want to ask, please tell our listeners about I Didn't Do It.
I Didn't Do It is a mystery that takes place at a thriller writers convention, which is loosely based upon Thriller Fest. If anybody has heard of it or knows about it, Danielle and I have attended many Thriller Fests together. It's a really fun place for authors to gather together to, you know, attend panels, see their agents, their editors, and it's all kind of the Mohammeds go to one mountain type place. So it takes place in New York City every year. And this one is taking place at Murderpalooza. And the industry darling, Kristen Bailey, is found stabbed to death in her hotel room by housekeeping. And then 4 other authors start getting targeted by an anonymous social media account and some random text messages, all suggesting maybe they're next. And then they start to find out that they all have secrets connected to Kristen Bailey. So at first they band together to try to, you know, use their thriller wileys and try to, you know, solve it together. And the more secrets that come out, the more distrustful they become of each other, and everyone starts pointing fingers. And did any of them do it? And will any of them survive?
It's so great. And I actually got a chance to read this ahead of time and give it a blurb because it was so fun. And I have to say in advance, though, nobody has died at a Thriller Fest, but I feel like the stakes are a little higher this year. I'm like, oh God. I'm like wondering if I should get a roommate instead of staying by myself. I'm a little scared, Jaime. No one's allowed to die. But anyway, it's super fun. And particularly kind of, you know, as an aside in the book is the insight into what it is like to be an author at one of these conferences, right? It's because it is kind of a, you know, we all spend 350 days a year by ourselves, you know, writing books, and then all of a sudden you get us all together. And some pandemonium ensues for sure. So it's a fun insight to the book. So you are known for your incredible twists, and also I would say for your deeply, we should call them flawed characters. So
Yes.
tell us what about those stories draw you? What about the people and the twisty turns?
Well, as far as characters, I love a messy character because they're thrillers, they're suspense, they're normally about cheating, backstabbing, murder. There's a bunch of bad things going on. So I do not need a squeaky clean character. It doesn't mean I'm going to root for a horrible character, but I kind of like reading about them. I think like May Cobb does it really well. She has really bad characters. Geneva Rose does it really well. I like characters that are inherently flawed because people are. So, why have a perfectly wonderful, happy, everything character? So I kind of like making them a little, secretive. They've got stuff going on. And I usually lean toward making one really, really awful because it's so much fun to write.
Yes, you do that really well. And you're such a not awful human. So it's like, it's funny to see you to read. I always know I'm in a Jaime Lynn Hendricks book, but I'm like, oh my God, what was she thinking? But it's fun. And I think you're right. Messy. I mean, and people are generally messy. And that is real. It's really, really true. And all of us have, secrets that we really don't want to get out into the world. And, but inevitably sometimes, they do anyway. So you're also a pantser. So tell us how a story happens for you, how the idea comes, and how you sort of, watch it unfold. Yeah, wing it. Exactly.
Yeah, I wing it. I like to I normally think of a twist first before I write a novel. I say, okay, I kind of want it to end this way, and then I'm like, okay. Then I start thinking about some of the characters, but I don't outline them and I don't outline how it's going to go because I do change plot along the way. I mean, offline, I'll tell you how I originally wanted this one to end.
Right. No spoilers.
Yeah, I do change plot sometimes because I think a lot of my novels are more character driven. So once I start writing the novel and I start figuring out who the character is, sometimes they'll tell me, no, I don't want to do what you thought anymore. Like I'm going to go this way instead.
Yeah. And you're like,
but I actually find that interesting because I feel like if I outline something and I said, no, I have to make it this way, I feel like that would stifle my creativity. Some people love it. And man, I wish I could outline. It would make the process go much faster for me, but I just can't do it. I'm jealous of those who can because it just doesn't work for me. I like kind of when things change along the way and my own characters and my own plot surprise me sometimes. And that's kind of fun, then you're kind of living in your own thriller novel yourself.
Yeah. And that if it's surprising you, then it's going to surprise readers, right? I mean, that's sort of how I feel too. And I'm also wish I could be a plotter and I'm not a plotter. So I totally get that. But you say you think it would be faster, but geez, Pete, you are a really fast writer. I'm really kind of amazed at how fast you write a book. So tell us about like a typical workday for you.
Oh God, recently, not so much. I'm not going to lie. I finished a manuscript before this one. And that we did not, that we were originally going to put on sub. I put this one on sub instead. I finished one manuscript after this that is going to be book 4, which comes out in spring of 24. I have not written the end in almost 2 years. I have not finished them. And normally I write them 8, 10, 12 weeks tops.
Yeah.
I have not written the end in almost 2 years, but I did have a lot going on. I mean, we were moving from New Jersey and then we got here and then we had to put the office together and I need to be in my own space. I can't just, like, we were sitting at the kitchen table. I was in bed writing and I finally got the office together. This has been great. But then, just a whole bunch of other things are like going on in my life. So I try really, really hard to sit down every day and get my 1,000 words a day out, but I don't. And I'm guilty of not coming down here every day and doing the thing. And I swear, I talked to my husband about it. I was like, I've got to whip my butt back into shape and like sit down in the chair and just start doing it and just get it done, because I have one manuscript I'm a third of the way through and one that I'm about 20,000, so about a quarter of the way through. I gave up on one, and then I'm about to give up on the other and go back to the other one, and then I'm like, nah, maybe I'll see how this is going to go. But it's because I haven't sat with it in my head every single day, so
Right.
I lose steam on it. So
Yeah.
I need to get it back, and I'm going to. I swear,
Of course, of course you will. Of course you will.
I will finish something this summer. I promise.
I mean, it's real life. Like, I mean, unfortunately for all of us, that happens. And you are a
Right.
really fast, writer. So hopefully you're not being too hard on yourself, although it sounds like you probably are, which is another thing that we
I
writers
deserve
do.
it. It's not
So,
me.
so tell the listeners what on sub means, because I'm not sure everybody knows what that means.
Okay, so when you have a manuscript that is ready to be published, like we all think all of our manuscripts are all ready to be published. Your agent will take it on sub, which means they go to all of the big editors at the big publishing houses. So most of the big publishing houses will not take a manuscript unless it comes from an agent. So you have to have your agent put you on sub. So I am not on sub. I am still under contract with Scarlet through my fourth book. And, hopefully I have something to give them by the end of the summer, which is why I really have to, finish. I have to finish something. But then, we'll see if I stay with them or if I decide to go on sub. I'm very, very happy with my editor. I think she's one of the most wonderful people I've ever met in my life. And I think she's a great editor. So, fingers crossed, see what happens there. But also, it's a business.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And basically sub means on submission, right? They're submitting your books. But that is really exciting. And I mean, so tell me about this 2-book thing. You're not writing 2 books at once ever, right? You just started one, abandoned
Yes.
ship, went okay.
Yes. It's like reading. I can't read 2 books at once either. I have to finish a book or completely abandon it, which I very rarely do.
Yeah.
Normally
Yeah.
if I start something, I'll stick it out, even if I don't enjoy it. I just, you got to finish a book.
I kind of feel that way too,
Yeah.
and to know how it ends, right? I mean, I kind of am
Yes.
like, how is this book how's it gonna salvage itself? And sometimes it
Sometimes
does,
I
and
say, please redeem
right.
yourself.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
but yeah, that's what I'm feeling with my own things that I'm writing. I'm just like, oh God, please redeem yourself. And, and then I say it's not going to redeem itself. So I don't. And then I start something else and then I get really into it. And then I stop again for whatever reason. And I have to stop doing that because I really like them both. I like the twists in both of them. I like how they're being laid out. I don't want to say I've lost interest because that's not true. I've lost
Focus, maybe.
like the focus, the thrill
Yeah.
of doing it. And that's what I have to get back. And it's probably just my own personal thing that I got going on right now. I'm just kind of not in it right now, but I will get there. And then, I'll probably flip a coin and be like, okay, finish this one. But then
I mean,
I have to go back and read the entire thing because I forgot. And then you're reading a third of a book and that's going to take a day. So, it's got to do what you got to do though.
I mean, I kind of feel like I think for a lot of people who are, in our position and aspiring to be writers or are writers, it's just good to hear that life happens sometimes. And when it happens, there's not much you can do other than just be like, okay, well, this is where, I need a break or something's not jiving or, it's just life. So it
I would
happens.
like to say to every aspiring writer out there, I mean, I'm lucky enough, I'm just lucky enough that I'm able to do this as my job, and I do not have children. So the ones that are out there who are trying to do it, getting it done, full-time job, raising a family, I mean, kudos to you people.
Totally.
You guys are the ones. You guys are the ones.
Yes.
And I hats off. You will get there because
Yeah.
you've got determination.
Yes.
You could do that. You'll get it done.
Perseverance. And when I met you for the first time, I don't know if you had an agent yet even.
No.
Yeah. So you were just and that's only been like, it feels like it was just a second ago, but it was pre-pandemic. So I guess it was a little
Yes.
longer than a second ago. But Um,
it was the 2019 Thriller Fest, which is
mhm.
funny because while we were all at the bar where I first met you that same night, that's when I got the request from my agent for the full manuscript. And I sent it to her the next day and I got the offer 5 days later. So I think just being around everybody at
It
Thriller
was.
Fest, manifesting and
You
everything.
manifested it. That's
Yes.
right. You manifest. Good for you. I love that. Do you happen to remember the seed for this book? You know, what was the sort of initial, was it just I kind of remember you talking about wanting to write um about a thriller writer conference, but do you remember how this started?
How I came up with it, or
Yeah, yeah, where the idea came from.
yeah, I just thought it would be fun because it was, I think this one I wrote in summer of 21. So that was after we already had one Thriller Fest that was just all Zoom. And then the second one was about to be all Zoom. And I think I missed being at a thriller conference because, like I said, I did not have an agent nor a book deal. The last one I attended. And then the next one was on Zoom. And then this one was going to be on Zoom. And I'm like, I want a thriller conference. So I think I just made that happen in my head because I just wanted it so bad. So I wrote
Totally.
that one.
Yeah,
wrote about it because
I love
missed
that.
it.
And you know, it's funny because one of the things that's fun about the book is that the characters all have these very sort of typical writer neuroses.
Yes.
So was it fun to write about, you know, a world of writers and, you know, all the insane things that we actually think about?
Yes, because as you know, like, a lot of people have their little cliques and their friends who they talk to all the time, who are their writer friends, Danielle, like who you talk to all the time. And like you said, we know, most of our writing neuroses because we talk about it to each other and we talk to other authors about what our problems are, what our imposter syndrome is. And you know what? Not for nothing. Like we're all pretty good writers. Okay. We all know what we're doing. We're all also very hard on ourselves all the time, which is why it's good to have, your little section of like cheerleader friends. But what I did in this book was I wanted to kind of make it like bigger. So I made like the author who's kind of, high on himself. I made him like so high on himself that like nobody could stand him.
Right.
And I made an author who used to be big, and then he's just kind of, kicking the can down the road now. And he's got his wife is like, well, I want to get a bigger place, and what are we gonna do? And work on
Right.
a book and do something better. And I made the starry-eyed wannabe writer be a little bit crazy and a little, too into everybody's life because she hasn't gotten there yet. And I
Right. Right.
put her up a notch. And then I kind of just made a regular like mid-list writer who just,
Yeah.
oh, she's up for the award. She's kind of 90% of writers out there, except I made her neuroses where she's just constantly editing herself and she doesn't trust
Yes.
herself. And
Yeah.
it's just kind of like I just kind of expanded on how everybody really acts. I just kind of expanded on it. So
Yeah. It's a little
don't
bit
think
right. Everything's a little
yeah.
exaggerated, but I
Yes.
actually love her because she'll say something and then she'll be like, "Oh, I shouldn't have said that. I should have said it this way." Like she literally is editing like every single thing that comes out of her mouth. Which
She would literally edit literally.
yes, she would be like, "I never should have said literally." So, okay, so let's talk about a starred Kirkus review. Tell our listeners like what a big freaking deal that is.
Okay, I know getting a starred review is a good thing. But when I got the email from my editor, it was like all capital letters. It was like, Jamie, I'm so freaking proud of you. You got a starred review from Kirkus. And I was like, Krankus? Like it was like, oh, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, wow, that's so great. Like, thank you for letting me know. And I was like, that's a good thing. I hear you get a starred review. And then I looked up what like a starred review from Kirkus means, and like, wow, it was so
Good for you.
flattering saying you've made it. Like you get a starred review, pop the champagne, you've made it as an author. They're rare like diamonds. And now I'm entered into this prize for like a Kirkus prize that they give out every year. And I'm floored. I'm completely blown away because
So exciting.
it is. It's kind of like an author achievement unlocked. It really is. And
Yeah.
it's something I never pictured, especially because the book is kind of like satirical almost. Like it's a thriller because
For
it's
sure.
suspenseful and it's page turny, but it's kind of satirical. Like I said, I made everything bigger and more exaggerated than it had to be. So I thought maybe it was just a little more on the funny side, not on the Kirkus star side.
Well,
I was
I
like,
mean, I think that's one of the great things about it is you're sort of making fun of
yes,
writers because
yes,
I mean, everybody in your book is a little bit crazy and everybody at Thriller Fest is a little bit crazy. We don't necessarily see the
right,
crazy because we're not inside their heads, but it's
right,
I think it's so fun that you did that took a because you're kind of making fun of yourself too, right? I
yeah,
mean, you're making fun of all of us. So it's super fun and the book actually comes out like the week before, right? The week
yeah.
before. So that is going to be super, super fun too. And we'll do lots of toasting. I hope you have had some champagne.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm still kind of like because I'm in Florida now. So I was in New Jersey for my past two book launches. So we had to find another, I had to find a local indie who is hosting my launch party, and I have to do everything kind of in Florida. It was kind of like starting over now.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to make the push. It's what is it, 5 weeks now? 5 weeks it comes out. So
Yeah.
I'm getting to that spot where I have to start doing, some publicity stuff. And I
Yep.
got, I did another article for Crime Reads, which is hilarious because they're putting it out the week of my pub date, and it's called How Not to Get Murdered at a Thriller Conference.
That's awesome. That's
So
awesome.
that's also kind of making fun because they wanted it to kind of tie into the book. But
Of
so
course.
I just handed that in, and then I've got some more like publicity stuff going on, and it's just kind of this last push before it happens. Then the champagne will come out, and then I will go to sleep for a week, and
I know,
then
I
I'll
was
go.
gonna say. So it's interesting. Like I think one of the things we don't talk about very much on the show is sort of all that is required of authors in terms of their own publicity and launch. I mean, I think people think, oh, well, the publisher handles the book tour, and they do, of course, for at a certain level, but not for everybody.
Right.
And so much of it is kind of up to us, right?
Yes. Yes.
So,
And when you if you want to give yourself a book tour, that's great. But man, you're the one paying for the flights. You're the one setting it up with the actual bookstore. You're the one hoping that they write back to you.
yeah,
A lot of stuff in there, and that's why I'm just staying local right now. And then I'll go to a couple of signings in New York when I'm up there, and
right.
then I'm going back up to New Jersey for the summer, for like a month in the summer. I'll go to a couple of signings there. I'll go see my old indies that held my launch party and all that, the first couple of
Yeah.
so they said
I'm
they're gonna have some stuff for me, see my old book clubs live. So I do my own stuff, but you got to do it yourself.
and it takes, I mean, that's just another huge job on top of, writing books and all that stuff. So it's definitely, it's not easy. It's a lot required of us and, as well as writing books. So, and like you said, those people that are doing it and raising children, which thankfully, you're not doing and I'm not doing anymore because mine are launched, it does make life so much easier. So you mentioned the next book that you have that's already done.
Done.
So can you tell us a little bit about that? That's coming out in 2024.
Yes. Tentative title right now is called Everyone is Lying, which when we signed the contract back in, I believe, November of 22, it was called Everyone is Lying. And then I think Shari Lapina just came out with one or is coming out like next month called Everyone Here is Lying.
Oh my
So I think
gosh.
so I think by the time we start working on content edits, which will probably be this summer, probably going to request a change in title.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because, well, she came out first, let her have it.
I
um,
know.
but that is about, well, that's one of the thrillers that's, somebody did something bad in high school and it kind of comes back. So these two best friends did something bad in high school, never saw each other again after graduation because it happened on the night at the party after graduation. And then, one of them took off and went away. It was 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and she was never seen or heard from again. And then her adult daughter shows up back in Florida. This one takes place in Florida. And she knows that the best friend took off to New York, was never seen or heard from again. So then one day the adult daughter shows up, said, my mother just died. And I know that she was your best friend. And I just found this letter that she wrote to you and never mailed. Explain this to me, what the F went on. And by the way, who's my daddy?
Oh gosh, right. That is so interesting. So I remember I read part of this one. I don't know if I've read the whole
Yes,
thing,
but
but I've read part of it. Early,
oh
early.
yeah, it was complete. It's completely redone
Yeah.
now. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not by. It's not. It's not narrated by Scarlett and Pepper. It's narrated by Scarlett and her adult daughter. It's
Yes.
completely different from the one you read.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember that. I just remember, like, as soon as you started talking about the premise, I remember the premise. And you do like come up with premises like you're wicked fast. So I totally remember that one. Well, that's super exciting. And I do love the everyone is lying. So you'll have
Yes,
to figure,
because you
yeah.
find out. I have to
Yeah.
say, this is my twistiest one because it,
Mm.
it's very twisty, and then a twist, and you say, okay, well, what happened there? And then it's like, okay, but what really happened? And then you find out what really happened, and then it's like, okay, but did it really happen that way? And then when it didn't happen that way, it's like, but it didn't happen that way either. This
Oh
one
my
really
God.
has a lot of twists until the end. So
We're
I
gonna
like
need
this.
like a neck brace for this one because we're gonna get like whiplash. I love that. Well, I mean, that is your sweet spot, and I think that's speaks to the Kirkus review, and it speaks to your incredible success. I mean, you're really still like from somebody who's been publishing books since probably you were like in middle school. It really you've come a long way really fast. So give yourself
Well,
a little time to breathe.
5 years of failure, before I got an agent. So, but you know what? Anybody who's listening, who's trying, you're gonna fail probably for years.
Yeah,
But keep going. Just keep going. I mean,
and
I
yeah.
always say every book you see on a shelf at Barnes and Noble or in a bookstore is probably not the author's first manuscript, even if it's their debut novel. It's probably not their first manuscript. You have to take the lumps, keep going. You
Yeah,
know,
you can't quit. That's
um,
sort of the rule. You
that's
cannot
it.
quit. And to be honest, I guess I'm into this career for
Oh, well,
23 years.
yeah.
Or I guess 23 years from my first publication, so longer than that, obviously, and the years before where I also wrote books that never saw the light of day. You're going to get rejections into the career too. I mean, it really is not a straight trajectory at all,
Oh, yeah.
but it's a labor of love, right? I mean, it is the thing that and there's really no better job, so it's worth sticking to it and
I
continuing
agree.
to fight for it. So, well, this Besties with books out on 5/23. I didn't do it by Jaime Lynn Hendricks, and I said
Yes.
compelling from page one and filled with one twisty turn after another. I absolutely loved it. That's me on the back
And
cover there.
that's on the arc, but your full blurb made my hardcover, which I wish I had right now so I could show everybody. But she said much more nice things about it. Thank you, Dana.
I did. I said a million nice things about it because there were a million nice things to say. It was so fun. So this has been Jaime Lynn Hendricks. Tell us where to find you on the World Wide Web and whatnot, social
On the
media.
worldwide. I am a lazy author and I do not have a website because I just do not have the wherewithal to keep up with one, so I don't do that. But I am very active on Instagram, so come say hi. It's Jaime Lynn Hendricks author, and I am on Twitter at authorjlh, and I have a Facebook page which is Jaime Lynn Hendricks author, and come say hi. I love engaging with people, so.
And let's talk just for listeners. Jaime is spelled, and I used to mess this up all the time, but I'm getting better. Jaime is Jaime. So
Yes.
you have to be, we have to be paying one more step of attention on that one because it's not the way my brain.
And I didn't even want to publish as Jaime Lynn Hendricks, but I did because Jamie Hendricks sounded too much like Jimi Hendrix.
Yes.
So I threw Lynn in there. So
it does.
Feel free to just call me Jamie. I don't go by Jaime Lynn.
That's so funny. Yeah. And I wonder if you just publish under Jimi Hendrix, you might get, or Jamie Hendricks, you might get the wrong, although he's an X, right? Hendricks, isn't he an X?
Hendricks is an
but
X, but
I know
just
you're saying.
hearing it was just, the mind bender to me.
Totally. Absolutely. Well, this has been so much fun, Jaime. I'm super excited to see how what the world makes of this, as particularly while we're at Thriller Fest discussing who we would put in each of those roles. I bet we can find some folks we could assign to.
I bet we could talk offline about every single one of them.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. We would never talk online about other people because that would be just really rude. So,
like I said, we're all friends. Everybody's friends.
We are mostly all friends. We are mostly all friends, and we are. I think it's an incredibly supportive community, even when you're sort of like, stop being such a pain in the ass, right?
No,
yeah, exactly.
I've never seen a line of work where everybody wants everybody else to succeed as much as authors do. It's absolutely amazing and humbling and sweet and lovely. It's a great community.
It really is such a magical place. So, okay. So today, thank you for joining us on Killer Women. This has been Jaime Lynn Hendricks, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.